thought process, okay? Also, let go of any expectations you have of the dog. We all have our goals, right? I've had big goals for Rambo, and they've been delayed by at least a year, all of them. So the pressure of these goals can be easily picked up by your dog, and that just makes training a negative experience for everyone, right? You're expecting a certain thing, they feel the pressure, they shut down, they want to please you, but they're not pleasing you, and they can tell by the way you smell that you're not totally pleased. So instead, be prepared to be grateful for every little tiny accomplishment your dog achieves, even though it's stupid easy in your mind, right? Even if it seems that way. Just don't take for granted the little stuff and let your dog know the stupid easy stuff, like that sit he or she just did, was awesome. Just go there first before you start putting any higher expectations on that. Start off with baby steps, even though you know the baby steps easy. Just go there first, build up their confidence, relax yourself, and overpraise for something simple in the very beginning to warm up. That's the way you got to work it. If you've taken these precautionary steps to recognize and deal with your own stress, then the next step is to determine if you or your dog has associated something negative in the context of the situation. So, for instance, if you notice that is it a fence with a wound-up dog behind it that always challenges both of you, and now it's kind of this place of absolute dread and aggressive stress. I mean, now you have a negative association for just walking down the street, right? Or did you two have a bad day one time doing this behavior, and now your dog is tentative? Look, again, I don't judge. We humans are always trying to learn to manage our stress, and if you had a bad time while training your dog, while you hadn't managed your stress yet or didn't recognize it, well, that's why I'm talking about you to this day. It happens. It's fixable. It's forgivable. You're going to do better. But be honest about the fact that you had a bad day. You maybe lost your temper a little bit. You got frustrated, whatever. And it was or was not really the dog's fault. Probably not the dog's fault. It's just one of those things. So be honest about that and don't dwell on it and think it's gone forever. Just rebuild it. So when there's been a negative association with a particular context of a training situation, your fault or not, then you need to back up on the progression, i.e. let's go back to stupid easy, right? Maybe go to a more neutral training environment or pick behaviors that are extremely easy to do and heavily rewarded, like I mentioned. Just as I suggested, just ask for a sit, tell your dog in various ways how awesome they are for that, and maybe even quit the training session right there. If your dog barely made it through, if you feel like that was the best you can do because it was a really bad almost shutdown, then that's what you got to do. Okay, so you can quit just on a simple sit or whatever and make a big deal of it. Go, oh my gosh, that was awesome. And they're like, really? And you're like, yeah. And then you quit and then you relax with each other. Just chill out. All right? End it with something positive. Or if your dog did fabulously well in recovering from the stress, maybe go for something else very simple with lavish reward. So you did this little sit, you did a lavish reward, oh, let's do a simple down or whatever, right? This is what we call rebuilding a behavior or making positive associations with the training context. Now your dog will be motivated to work with you for the future when once they were stressed out. So there's nothing wrong with going backwards. Regression is part of learning, so go there if you need to. Now, I'm not going to say that it doesn't happen. That sometimes a dog refuses to work with you or play, shuts down on a behavior, and it has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with stress. They're just playing you to avoid doing it. Often happens with the behavior down because it's a submissive, yeah. Once they learn it, they're like, I don't want to. I don't have to. So if you tried everything else, you've tried all the other things they suggest, and they are not working. The dog just seems to run away or act like you're abusing them for offering them food for something simple, blah, blah, blah. They're playing you. But you got to eliminate all the other possibilities first. All right. A third and very important way to manage stress and convert it to motivation is to recognize the power of play, which I've mentioned before. It is much easier to transfer fear or stress energy into play energy. We experience this with a roller coaster ride. We're fearful and we're naturally converted to laughter and giggling and the sensation of conquest and victory when it's all over. When it's over, right? The same with a horror film, although I don't go there. I don't feel like I actually conquered anything. I just have nightmares for weeks, so I'll stick with the roller coasters for myself. But or trying a new adventure in general. That adrenaline high of fear and stress can be converted to play, laughter, and joy, always leaving with a sensation of that satisfaction in victory over what they once feared. So we have to do the same for our dogs. It's actually very powerful for dogs. Rambo, for instance, is very afraid of a lot of things. Not as many as before, but particularly in the kitchen in the beginning, the sound of cabinets closing or just a fork being placed in a stainless steel sink was overwhelming to the point where he actually urinated on himself and would run away. He's not food motivated, especially when he's stressed. Hell no. He'll starve himself for 4.5 days. That's his record. And at first, I couldn't do any play with him because he didn't fully trust me, any humans, nothing. So trying to play with him or touch him or anything was out of the question. But when I could start getting a little play out of him, I used it all the time. For instance, when a person walked by on the sidewalk while he was investigating a spot to pee, he would tuck his tail and scurry away instead of peeing. He would actually hold it and then piss in the house. So I used a fart sound that was a cue used in playing with him to get him to calm down. He was like, in the house, we'd go just to get him like... It took about 4 to 5 people passing by before I got a dirty look from somebody and realized that maybe that was an unfortunate coincidence that a fart sound was what helped my dog, but was kind of insulting to the passers-by. But it was funny in the moment. Anyway, so I would also use particular phrases like, loud noises! And run around and be goofy with my dog every time he heard a kitchen, he started to freak out. So I would turn it into like celebration noise instead of shutdown noise. So like I'd close the cabinet, go, loud noises, and run around and chase him and play. And eventually he would untuck his tail, and eventually over time he would stop peeing on himself. And then even further down the line, he would be curious enough to start investigating the smell of the cabinet after I have made the little clunk and said loud noises, which I tell my students regularly. Look, how we act has everything to do with how they're going to behave. Yes, they've learned certain things. They learn to react. Like if you have dog-on-dog aggression, your dog reacts to aggressive dogs and they freak out, and it's hard to deal with that. And they aren't going to get better if we just address the behavior in sort of a linear, logical way. We also have to address it in terms of emotion and stress, because that has a lot to do with what's in the equation there. So I tell my students regularly, if you have to pass a nasty fence of dogs where your dog reacts violently as you try to get by, before getting close, start putting yourself in the alpha split position, which we could talk about some other time. But most importantly, think of your favorite meal and drink that you would love to eat while hanging out with your dog, possibly in some sort of imaginary cafe on the beach, whatever your favorite thing is, right? A prize meal that you and your dog will win by accomplishing the gauntlet of the fence. This changes our hormones into the smell of play, teamwork, and pleasure. This is more powerful than using food to distract your anxious or aggressive dog from other aggressive dogs, which is why I don't use all positive training for aggressive dog behavior until we get to the very end of their training, not in the beginning and the middle. So, in fact, I find having food with you oftentimes makes it worse for those dogs who are super reactive. Now they have you and the food to protect, and they're more jazzed up and excited because there's actual food there. So I have seen more almost instant successes in these cases of dog-on-dog aggression when the owner has infused their brain and body with these thoughts, and thus they smell like, quote-unquote, a good time for their dog. And don't think about winning money. That's completely useless. That is about hunting, and you don't want to add the prey and predator smell that's going on with dog-to-dog aggression. That makes things worse. Also, we pay too much value on the money, and it doesn't have any relaxation of involvement in that. So, that leads me to the final method of managing stress and converting it to motivation for your dog, especially when your dog is fearful. Using the ritual of sniffing and allowing our dogs to socialize with objects through scent is a very calming tool and rapidly builds their dog's self-esteem. So, I do it with food. When a dog is too timid to take food from me, I sniff the food first, maybe pretend to taste it. Before I knew I had celiacs, I would actually eat some of it. Then I turn my head away by 20 degrees from the dog's eyes and offer them the remaining food. A spoon would make a noise in the sink. Rambo freaks out. I pick up the spoon, smell it vigorously, pass it to Rambo as soon as he seems curious enough to smell it himself. A plastic bag threatens to swallow him on Wilshire Boulevard. I stomp on the bag to kill it. Pick it up, sniff it vigorously, and as I see his head lean toward the bag, I squat down and pass it to him to smell. Since then, he has not been afraid of spoons put down in the stainless steel sink, and he's not been afraid of plastic bags scurrying across Wilshire Boulevard. Every time your dog chooses to smell or eat what you offered them, you praise them verbally, and then move on like nothing happened. This will do more for a stressed dog than you can believe, because you've touched on the trust relationship of alpha investigates first, then in a bonding moment trust the beta to investigate with the alpha. Right? With the smell first rather than their sight and the hearing. A dog who trusts their sense of smell will be better at discerning what is pleasurable and what is to be avoided in the future. This will only help your dog have a stronger constitution with new environments. Correct? So if a stronger constitution in moments of stress is what we want for our dogs and ourselves, that sense of victory achieved by converting fear into play or curiosity or discernment is a very strong motivating power without having to rely on a ridiculous level of food motivation. Isn't victory of conquering a stress a positive association for learning and experiencing more and more with you? Even if victory is momentarily defined as appreciating the simple behaviors like sit. So, from now on, I want you to start learning to recognize your own stress, recognize it in your dogs, address it first, manage it, and then convert it, even if it catches you on the fly, like you didn't expect that loud noise, you didn't expect them to react to this particular situation. Start converting it into play, in sensory perception through the smell, and through part of participation as if it's just no big thing. So, done yapping at it about that. Take your stress and try to turn it into motivation as opposed to trying to squash it or cover it up with just food. And if you don't have a food-motivated dog, you're screwed anyway if you try to do that. So, all right, September 7th, I'll have 2 new classes, Master Distraction class and Canine Good Citizen Preparation class. They'll be on the website bluecollarworkingdog.com. Get on their mailing list. They have awesome coupons, and sometimes they have free beer sessions over at the store. So you come over and you shop around and get a cup of beer for the heck of it. And today's your last day to possibly purchase the most irrelevant t-shirt ever. On teespring.com/dog walking etiquette rule 2, where it says, oh, your dog is friendly. Irrelevant. So is that all I have for announcements? It is all I have for announcements. Fantastic. You guys are done with my butt. I'm so sorry that I was late today. I'm usually like super, super early. I almost went faster than the show is supposed to get going. I started 8 minutes late. This is good. It's only 5:34 now. All right. Look, this is where we love our dogs. We absolutely love our dogs. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a dog. Or if you have a dog and you don't love it, you should find somebody who can. Anyway, in the dog world, to love is to serve. Not to get them lots of toys just for the hell of it and just pet them whenever. It's to love is to serve. It's part of pack behavior. It's part of being a family. So give your dog little opportunities to serve you in little ways every day. And in return, serve them well. I'll talk to you all next week, and go out there, play, and sniff, and play some more.